actually came up with this idea at our institute about this new concept of early prevention, because the question is, when we usually enter the field of prevention in our countries, in which developmental stage we usually enter with interventions? What do you think? Silence. We usually enter with prevention intervention in adolescence. And we feel regularly, on a regular basis, like a fireman trying to stop fire, and not one fire. Usually there are many fires at the same time, so we struggle to make an impact, and we struggle to be effective in our prevention work. So the effect sizes of prevention interventions in adolescence, or even after adolescence, like in early adulthood, the effect sizes are usually very low. We don't get population level results as we wish to. So that's why we try to figure out what to do, because schools kept calling us to provide some recipe overnight to save their problem or to get rid of the problem in school. And we said, okay, but there is no one recipe, not one night recipe. So you should start from the scratch. So building a prevention system in school, which means from the first grade until the last grade. Oh, but that's too complex, that's too difficult. So we are interested now, we have problem now, we want to solve the problem now. But there are still some schools, of course, interested to do it. And it usually starts with very early interventions in schools. But there is a lot of work we can still do even before school. So we try to search for a little bit for literature, and because there is a lot of evidence out there that as early we start, better outcomes we can achieve. There is a study published in Lancet in 2019 showing how much we can save in euros, dollars, bahts, whatever the currency you have, if we invest in prevention of adverse childhood experiences which usually happen very early in life. So if evidence does not speak for itself, maybe money should speak to policy and decision makers. So this is maybe a good argument for the governments, for the local authorities, to put more efforts and more investments in very early prevention interventions. So we have all the evidence from the, scientific studies, also prevention intervention evaluations and studies, and also cost-benefit studies like this one. But why we are still not doing it on a regular basis in most of our countries? Because the early prevention concept did not exist before early this century. Nobody actually in literature spoke about this concept as early prevention concept. Of course, there is a knowledge, there is a literature about early childhood interventions, what kind of interventions work and does not work in each developmental stages, but this knowledge is not connected in one concept. So the only two or three references we found in the literature, and only one is related to substance use from 2004, speaking about early prevention as a pre-adolescent childhood. And one of the pioneers of early prevention very respected professor at the Cambridge University, Professor Farrington, he actually discussed about early prevention even before in 2003, but in relation to antisocial behavior and more crime prevention than substance use prevention. So there are some ideas, some discussions about the concept itself. There are also already definitions in those articles and books about what early prevention could mean, and but nobody actually brought this concept to the political agenda, to the strategical discussions and policy discussions, which means that if there is a national or global priority to do it, there is funding available, people are focused on it, so they invest on it, so there are more discussions about it, so something might happen if there are more discussions and more policy documents mentioning this. So we initiated at the Institute a discussion with our government, our Ministry of Health, if they are interested to file resolution at CND, focusing on this concept of early prevention. And they are kind of reluctant to do it because it's a lot of work behind. And then the window of opportunity came to our doors because Slovenia was just before the EU presidency period, and they had no idea what to do in the field of drug policy. And they came to us and asked, do you have any ideas? Of course we have an idea. We are discussing about it already for, I don't know, 4 years. Okay, let's do it. So we started first as a topic, as a priority in during the Slovenian European Union's presidency. And discussions about social and emotional learning, the prenatal, postnatal interventions, etc. All those things were included in the discussions at the European level. So we actually tried to set the scene for the following period of what happened next. So during this process, we also initiated the idea that Slovenia might be now ready to file the resolution on early prevention. And they said, luckily, they said yes. They activate the mission in Vienna. They started with drafting the resolution, processing this resolution, negotiating the resolution through the Committee of the Whole at the UN level, and during the CND 2022, and finally the CND by consensus adopted this resolution in 2022. So the political baseline was set for these discussions, and you can imagine it was quite challenging for people at the CND, mostly drug supply people, and from the ministries of Interior or Foreign Affairs, speaking about social and emotional competencies and early childhood, parenting, attachment and bonding, etc. It was very strange for them to discuss about these unknown topics for them. So that was also a challenge for policy and decision makers in Vienna. You know, there are some differences between different resolutions. Some of them, they have no commitments for member states or for UNODC or for other UN agencies. This one is different because it has written some commitments, especially by UNODC, to do follow-ups, to report, and to include this in the next updated edition of international standards in the field of drug use prevention. So this, it means that there will be work continuing and there will be follow-ups and reports. And they already prepared for this year a discussion paper for the CND 2023 with some ideas how we at the global level can approach this issue and the concept of early prevention. As I mentioned, there is also existing knowledge about it. NIDA published in 2016 really valuable book on early childhood interventions. This is a Bible, probably, for our future discussions on the concept of early prevention. And there are several principles written in this book, and all of them are quite logical. If we think about them from the perspective of prevention professionals, they're all logical. So if we intervene earlier, we can alter the life course trajectory in a positive direction. So it's not just intervening to reduce some harm, but it's intervening to change the direction in child's life or the whole group of children's life in the future. So it's much more powerful principle. So also, in prevention, it's all about risk and protective factors. We are not focusing on behaviors, on substances, but the risk and protective factors are the key. And in many risk behaviors are similar. So there are similar risk and protective factors in different risk behaviors. So if we start focusing very early on risk and protective factors, we can have much better outcomes later in life. With the long-term effects, there are several longitudinal studies available for several prevention interventions which show long-term effects if they start, when the kids are 6 years old, they follow the kids until the university, and they clearly concluded that there is a long-term effect with a big proportion of the target population, positive effects in the long term. Also, as I said, focusing very early on risk and protective factors actually doesn't matter which risk behavior we are talking about. So we can, at the same time, have effects on a wide array of different behaviors. Maybe sometimes not even specifically to those risk behaviors we are mostly focused on, like alcohol use or violence or cyberbullying, etc. Also, with very early interventions, we can actually positively affect children's biological functioning. We know this from neuroscience, and a lot of studies shows that there are positive results also in biological functioning, which is not really possible if we start doing things in adolescence or even later. And also, with early prevention interventions, we usually target the proximal, the closest environments of the child, like family, the neighborhoods, school, kindergarten, etc. So we have very direct relationship with our target population, and we try to change not just the behavior, but also the overall social environment of the child. Because those interventions have impact and effects also on others, on adults, on parents, caregivers, teachers, educators, and the whole community. I will not go in details because I have limited time. 2 minutes, yes? But in the literature, you can find a lot of the list of risk and protective factors which are relevant for early prevention interventions. Also, we have international standards. It's very clear that there is evidence. There are interventions available already, which we can start working on them and implement them in practice. So we have a set of different interventions available for us to start with these early prevention interventions. And also in the international standards, if you look at them, you can see also some proposals what kind of interventions, evidence-based interventions, are probably the most valuable, the most effective, the most proper to start with. Like in prenatal and infancy, we can do a lot about substance use during pregnancy, like alcohol and pregnancy, cannabis and pregnancy. A lot of interventions we can start with and do a really effective and good job, etc., etc. So it's a lot of the menu of interventions. It's quite extensive. So we can, if we decide to invest in early prevention, we can start from somewhere. It's not starting from the scratch because there is also already available evidence and available interventions globally available to implement them. So for each international standards, you can find for each developmental stage different ideas, different proposals, suggestions, what kind of interventions are the best. And of course, we always struggle to bring different stakeholders to the same table to discuss prevention. And in early prevention, it's even more important to bring them together. So this is a collaborative work of different sectors, like education sector, social affairs sector, police as well, local authorities, different ministries at the national level, different departments at local level, different services at local level, NGOs could be as well involved in this work. So it is a collaborative effort. So don't expect to be successful if you focus only on one sector. So you have to pull them together, bring them together at the same table and discuss strategies how to invest and implement and disseminate early prevention interventions. So this is all for me. Hopefully time is okay. And questions at the end.
Okay, well, thank you, Matej. That was a very inspiring presentation. The second presentation will be entitled A Two-Phase Augmentation Intervention Extension of Claremont's Media-Based Prevention Model by Dr. William Crano and Ms. Ofentse Rampete. Dr. Crano, William Crano, is a PhD, is the Oscar Professor of Psychology at Claremont Graduate University and Director of the Health, Psychology, and Prevention Science Institute, where he has taught for the past 25 years. Previously, he was Professor and Chair of the Department of Communication at the University of Arizona and also served as Professor on the faculties of Michigan State University and Texas A&M University. The floor is yours. And I think you'll be joined by, let me introduce also Ms. Ofentse Rampete, master's degree in education from Botswana. She has been in the education sector for over 20 years. She has exceptionally led the development of the Botswana Emotional Intelligence Training course. She has recently successfully led the development of the National Learner Profile and Framework, Training Manual, and Facilitators Guide for the introduction of multiple career pathways in schools. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Before I start, I want to tell you I agree fully with what Matej had to say. When I was working with UNODC, when we were developing the standards for prevention, international standards, it became clear to me, I had written the media prevention part of it. It became clear to me that media didn't work very well, and it really didn't work very well on adults. The reason being that we weren't preventing anything with adults. We were trying to stop something that had already started. And it was clear that what you do is stop it before it begins. You stop usage before anybody's even thinking about doing it, and that's kids. And so we've in the program that we're doing now in Botswana, we're starting with little children, little guys who are much too young to be thinking seriously about drugs. And we're trying to train them, keep thinking that way. Don't think about drugs. No, this doesn't work, so I'll move it this way. How does that work? Okay. Many campaigns are designed, to stop psychoactive substance use, don't work. And they don't work for all sorts of reasons. But this is problems because you got these failures of expensive programs, widely publicized programs that fall on their face. Everyone knows this, okay? And that then gives rise to the idea that, well, maybe we shouldn't really think too much about using media in prevention, because when we use media in prevention, these expensive programs don't work. And to my critics, to people who say this, I say to them, suppose you have a bad dinner. You don't like the food. You throw the food out. Do you throw the plate away? They say, no, why would you? Well, the media is the plate. The media is the delivery system. It's nothing more than that. The medium is not the message. The message is the message, and your messages aren't persuasive. And that's what we're trying to do in Botswana, and that's what we've been trying to do since 2018 in the program that we've been running. Training scholars from prevention specialists from all over the place. Why have these programs, earlier programs, failed? Because they've been based on whim. Now, let's see, I'll sit in my office one day and think about how am I going to persuade people. This is sort of the typical administrator in some country somewhere, including mine. And they think something up, and they think, wow, that's really smart, let's do it. Well, let's ignore the past 60 years of work on persuasion, because prevention almost always involves persuasion. I gotta persuade you not to do something you want to do, or to do something you don't want to do. Okay, if you don't have those two things covered in your persuasive message, you are going to fail. It doesn't matter how they're delivered. It could be face-to-face, it could be via mass media, it could be via posters, billboards, all that stuff. If you don't add a persuasive element to people in your messages, you will fail. It doesn't matter how much information you give. If you don't innovate the information, if you don't create some impetus to work on, to act on the information, you will fail. Okay? That's the standard social health approach. Well, let's give them lots of information. That'll do it. It doesn't do it unless you're persuasive, okay? So you see these programs that are crazy. Here's a guy who's strung out on methamphetamines. $1 million programs didn't work. Why not? Because you didn't want to watch the stuff. So part of your ads mean, part of what you do in the media is not present information that people can't stand to look at. All right? Why would you do that? Media don't work unless you have multiple exposures to the message. Not one, multiple. So if you don't do that, you're going to fail. Okay? This is easy. Or you get something like just say no, which Nancy Reagan thought up. Just say no. How do you say no? Let's say your girlfriend or your boyfriend says, here, take a hit on this joint. Don't be a sissy. Now what do? You're a 16-year-old boy. Come on. That failed. That gave rise to DARE. That failed. Which gave rise to meth, we're on it. That's fails. We haven't got the evaluation of that yet because they have been afraid to talk about it. So we developed a graduate level course to train specialists across the world, except the United States. Because we're using ICL money and they can't give us money to train our own people, but we can do other people. Here are the steps that we use. Here are the things that we worried about. Okay, these have to be professionals with responsibilities for prevention. We taught them about persuasion and ultimately brought on the idea of prevention. They learned about evidence-based research findings, a lot of it coming out of our own shop. And they learned how to evaluate the programs. It's a good program. Here are the participants we've trained. You can see all this. You can read it yourself. I won't. I don't have time. But basically, here's the thing. We've trained 57, or either trained or in the process of training, 57 certified professionals across 19 countries. And those people hang together. We form them into cadres. And the cadres form a larger cadre. And they communicate. And they communicate across all sorts of things. With their own cadre, they say, hey, how you doing? Oh, Janet just had a baby. Isn't that cool? Or, you know, or... And they do the social stuff, but also what happens is somebody will write, hey, I'm running this program and I'm running into this problem. Anybody have this problem before? You get 3 or 4 people writing, yeah, but here's what you do about it. Well, I did this and this and this. Did it work? No. Okay, how about this guy? Did this work? Yeah, that works. Why don't you try it? So we do that sort of thing. And what my nefarious purpose in all of this was to create a network of trained professionals who understood how to do this. I was going to say what the hell goes on, but I didn't. So how does this work? And think about that. These people can be an asset. So, oops, went the wrong way. Let's see here. Does this work? Come on. Oh, I see. It's down, not up. Okay. So this is what we did. My group and I wrote the UPC media-based prevention book. And didn't realize it was going to be a book. And in course 1, well, I won't go through all of that, but you can see what we did. Evidence-based prevention, survey of health prevention, behavior theory, UPC media application, and a capstone course. And this is what our trainees go through. Okay, and you see the number of hours that is devoted to each of these things. We work people like crazy when they're under our thumbs, but they come out learning a lot. And by the time they get to the capstone course, they come packing with a program that they're ready to put into their countries, that is ready to go. They come to us for 36 hours, and we polish that program up, so that when you're finished, you can go to the boss who sent you and say, here it is. This is what you paid for. And then it's up to the boss to put it into practice. Now, sometimes it's not the same boss. Sometimes regimes change. And they're not at all interested in prevention. They're interested in, I don't know, rewarding their buddies. Don't do that, if there are any bosses out there. Capstone course, in years 1 and 2, those folks were all trained at Claremont from all over the world. They came in, they spent 3 weeks, hard training, months, 3 months of UPC media training with our trained staff. And then they came back to Claremont for a week where we worked 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. And by the time they did that, they were ready to go. Our goal, you can see it. Train theories and research, plan and decide and define expert training, expert proposals, expert everything. Get your programs into your countries. Get them going. They will work for you if you follow the code, basically. Lately, we asked our graduates, our alums, what did you think of the program? We asked them that, but does it still work for you? Is it any good still? And what could we have changed? People love the program. I'm not bragging. But what they said was, it was really a lot in a short period of time. We'd love a refresher course. And we said, we won't give you a refresher course, but we'll give you some advanced training. So you build on what you already know. And we also offer you the opportunity of sending us a proposal for research that you want to do with what you're doing. And we will use me as a consultant to you, a free consultant that I will do everything I can to get you into the field and running. And one of the programs that we had to do this was the one that Ofentse is going to talk about in Botswana today. These are the groups that we are dealing with now officially. We have 2 other groups that we're unofficially dealing with because they came in late and said, "Could you please help us?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, fine." In Brazil, we've got the whole city of Campinas, 1.2 million people. They've got everybody involved in it, from the boss, from from Matej to I don't know, the mayor of these prevention programs before you start using anything. And a lot of them, the 3 out of the 4, I think, are dealing with very young kids. You'll see in Botswana. So I'm going to stop now and give the table over to Ofentse, and she's going to tell you the rest.
Thank you very much, Professor Crano. As he has said, my name is Ofentse Rampete from the Ministry of Education and Skills Development in Botswana. I am under his mentorship, and our government, in particular the Ministry of Education, is excited of the free mentorship and support that Professor William Crano has committed himself to help us develop the persuasive prevention messages. And as highlighted, I'm going to take us through the media-based project that has taken place. We started it last year and it is ongoing. Basically, I'll look at the objectives of the project and give a light overview of it, highlighting also the participants, the targeted substances, and very important, the research design, as well as the implementation plan and where we are right now. The objectives, as indicated, first and foremost, we want to increase the awareness of drug prevention in the country and to further delay the onset of substance use and to finally have more negative attitudes towards the use of substances, which will also lower the intention of usage. We are looking at 3 substances: tobacco, alcohol, and marijuana. And at the end of the project, we want to see an increase in the refusal skills of these targeted substances. Reduction of usage of substances before age 13, as Prof has already highlighted. Our target population is early adolescents, that is between the age of 10 and 12. And to also have an increased rate of discontinuation of usage, because a number of data sources have reflected to us that we have children as far as like lower than 12 years that have already found themselves in the usage of substances. Briefly, let me talk about Botswana. Botswana is a very small country, population of about 2.5 million. Landlocked, if you know the southern part of Africa, but we are not drug-locked. So the challenge of substance use is there, even in the small country. But the good part of it is it's a good area for tourism. Getting to the Ministry of Education and its operation, we basically have 10 regional operations to make it easy for us to manage the whole country. Now, our project is focusing on 3 regional operations. And as highlighted, the first operation, the regional operation first, it's the southeast part of Botswana, where we have Gaborone, that is the capital city of the country. And then we have the second area, Khuong. Maybe you can't see it from far. It's approximately like 40 kilometers from the capital city. And then the third one is furthest, 700 kilometers from the capital city, and it's called Ofentse. So when you basically look at these 3 regional operations, there are a lot of differences there. When you talk of Gaborone as the capital city, it's high socio-economic status. And then the Khuong one is medium. And lastly, Ofentse, it's low economic status. So those differences are very important for us as we move on with the project. In each of these areas, we selected 4 primary schools. 2 of these primary schools in each of the region will serve as experimental, and then other 2 will serve as control. And the population for the experimental as well as for the control, each of them is above 600 learners. So we are basically hoping that the number would give us good interpretation of the results. And prior to selection of these 4 schools, officers in this particular region had to perform the profile or deliver the profile of their area so that we understand what is going on, as I've talked of the socioeconomic status, and furthermore, characteristics of areas of factors like unemployment, further down, further up the city, as well as the use of traditional beer. Now, in this project, this represents an amazing opportunity to launch and test theory-driven, evidence-based prevention campaign, which we have never had in our country, and we are very grateful for the mentorship. With a population in need and with a low history of exposure to anti-drug campaigns. The proposed study will use a delayed crossover treatment design to maximize feedback and exposure, while allowing all schools and students to benefit from the prevention campaign. And later on, in a short time, we will talk more about the delayed crossover treatment design. I've already highlighted that we are focusing on 3 main substances. That's marijuana, alcohol, and tobacco. There's a lot of data sources that have informed us, even from the profiling of the areas. And we also have the second risk youth behavioral surveillance report. Of course, it's of 2016. It is done periodically after every 4 years. Unfortunately, when we were supposed to do it, we had COVID. But as we move on, we believe that with this project, we should be able to see great, significant difference with our 4th surveillance report. I think let me ask Professor Crano to talk to us about the delayed treatment crossover design.
Yeah, this design that we're using is one that is very, very powerful and will be able to show us results. We got such wonderful cooperation from the authorities in Botswana. They did more than we ever expected. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to have 2 groups. One is going to get the treatment, the intervention, one won't. Both will get the same tests, pre-test, treatment, post-test. Pure, clear, easy design. And then the intervention gets switched into what used to be the control group. And now the previous intervention group becomes the control group. Okay? So we're going to be able to tell whether or not this design worked for the first group. Nothing happens, hopefully, for the second group because they didn't get anything. But we can't leave them out in the dark. We can't say, well, the first group got a really good drug prevention program, and the others got nothing. Too bad. No, we're going to train them too. And what we're hoping is that after the first post-test, nothing's going to happen, but by the time they get to the second, they're going to jump up to where the first was. And then we're going to keep the measurement going to see how long the effect lasts. Then we're going to repeat that for the other 4 groups, 4 schools in Gaborone. And then we've got 2 more school systems, basically in the different places, in the different districts. Same number of schools, same design, and we're going to replicate that study about 3 or 4 times. If this study works, and I'm confident that will, if you're smart and you're an editor of a journal, you're going to be begging us to put it out in your journal, because this is going to be an exceptionally interesting set of work.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. I'm rounding up. Like I've said, we have the implementation plan. It started running from the 1st of May, the first week of May. It will end towards the end of December. That's the first phase. And as highlighted, we are at the stage practical message development, which is taking us roughly 2 weeks. We're actually towards the end of it, because we've had a number of teachers that will show, 60 of them that have been trained in UPC, followed by the media-based prevention that Professor Crano came over to deliver. And as we conclude the development of messages, it will be followed by the testing of these messages before we can take them over to the design that Prof talked about. And also role clarification of who does what is also highlighted. So where we are, ladies and gentlemen, in summary, I've talked about the UPC training, that we are grateful for the technical support of DAP Colombo Plan. We achieved it, and Professor Crano has taken the 60 primary school teachers who are now the ones working on the development of messages through the theories of attitude change, and this has happened in March into April 2023. Also in April 2023, these teachers went through the media-based prevention. We are now at the development of messages as highlighted and continue to revise, and the revision of the messages is ongoing right now. And we are very happy, like the previous speaker talked of collaboration. It is not just the Ministry of Education alone. We also have the newly established Drug Enforcement Agency, which is coordinating the issues of substances in the country, that are on board to help us with the critiquing, actually the graphic designing of these messages. And we are saying, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned, and we will hear more about Botswana in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you, Dr. Crano and Mr. Rampete, for this wonderful work. And I'm very happy this is taking place in Africa, a continent that's very close to my heart. So thank you very much. Now the next presenter is Suriyade Tripathi. He's a pediatrician at the Chulalongkorn University, and with a subspecialty in adolescent medicine at the University of California, San Francisco since 2005. He's a member of the Society for Adolescent Health and Medicine since 2006, and in 2011, he had received the International Chapter Recognition Award from the SAM. He received several awards by the Prime Minister, Minister of Human Security and Social Development, Minister of Public Health, the Royal College of Pediatricians, and other institutions. It's very impressive. And the title is Moral Index and Life Assets, Positive Power Development, a National Protection Strategy in Human Capital. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Jallal. First of all, I would like to thankful for the ICUDDR. Switch your mode. I'm not talking about the substance use, but what the topic formerly I'm working in the Mahidol University as a dean, but right now be a director of the Center for Morality. If you ever heard about morality, mostly of you think about like intangible. No, it cannot countable. How you can do it about countable? So this is the first time we did in Thailand, and last year Prime Minister Office also announced to be one of the key indicator. What is it? How it is important when we talk about the risk and protection model. But today I will talk about the protection side. I will talk mostly for how we can build up our kids and young people to be a positive power of social immunization, willing to go to school, work skill, and also have healthy life and culture of their way of life. First of all, I let all of you show about a short movie that is easily to understand. Okay. look at the I, that is also plus mind, positive mindset. I would like to explain a little bit about I am, I have, I can. This is a mental strength and spiritual strength. I will amplify about what is I am, what about I have, how I can build up. If you ever heard about the World Happiness Report, mostly of the government, they focus on the GDP. Every year you will heard about how GDP is rising, but whenever we talk about the morality, no, it is intangible. So all the governor, even in the prime minister, every countries, they are not focused on, not a lot more focused on this side. They focus especially on the GDP. But the World Happiness right now also mentioned about the social support, healthy life expectancy at birth, freedom to make life choice, generosity, and also perception of corruption and dystopia. But the new one that I also would like to explain a little bit from this slide, if you look at the I am, I have, I can. In the middle, I am. If the mental strength and spiritual strength, what is the I am meaning? It is a not only the cognition, it means mind, such as mindfulness. If this one is strong, and it's not only enough from this, we have to evaluation about what about the good ecosystem, such as all the kids, they are living in the very immediate environment system, such as microsystem, family, what about the family, what about the school, what about the community. So these are, we call like I have. What about the environment, good ecology they have? We call this one is a life asset. And build up the resilience in the three-way method to turn the negative mindset to be a positive, and from hot cognition to be a cold cognition. I have no time to example about, but the first thing, moral index. We set up the moral index. And the second, I have life asset. This one is evaluation about how good ecosystem, such as family, how positive power they have, I mean, all the kids, and not only all the kids. Right now, we build up in the adult mode too. So the first thing, I would like to talk about the life asset. Life asset, what is the life asset meaning? Life asset is a protective factors, include life skill conscious mind of children, youth in their self and their surrounding that have influence in their living, such as family, cognitive formation, and community and peers. But last year in Thailand, we have not only life asset mentioned in the young people, including adult. They can evaluation positive power in their organization that they work. So life asset philosophy, it will talk about the positive side, not the negative side. It is a self-reflection and translation to be a behavior. You can self-reflection yourself. In each of indicator is talking about the ecosystem related in the way of life. Like this, if you fold your finger like fist at your hand, it's like a brain, and it's a combination about the cognition and mindfulness. And the big thumb is like a power of self, and four other is external asset. It is a surrounding. It is also mean the ecosystem, such as family, wisdom, and also peer and community. So we call these as a life asset. Of the whole, and we also have our indicator. Let me example about this one. Self is also including about the life skill, mindfulness, self-sufficiency, positive value, positive identity, social skill, self-esteem. Such as if you look at the community, we also have some kind of indicator talking about the positive role model, warmth and safety in the community. What about the meaningful participation, volunteer activity, connectedness, something about we talk about. I have no detail, no time for go detail. So life asset is a power steering wheel for social immunity to taste about how positive power in each area-based approach. And we can also evaluation. We done also our factor analysis, validation factor analysis, and publish our paper. And also 10 years ago, I presented in the Seattle, and so also give at that time Society for Adolescent Health and Medicine gave me the International Recognition Award at that time. Here is some of the published paper about the positive life set in high school student in Thailand. If you look at the grade, it's like a symbolic color. Red color is mean that less than 60%, 100 less than 60% is answer about yes in this time is become red color. And fire is between 60 to 70, and good is 70 to 80, and more than 80% is like a green color. So let me example 10 years ago, we mapping coloring the whole country of Thailand about how positive power in the reflection from the young people, the whole country. You will see that luckily no red color, but unluckily no green color too. And if you look at the family is a little bit benefit comparing to the other powers. And the whole strength is only grade C, not A, not B. And if you, we have also done some other research paper, such as mostly of the parents think about that if our kids very high academic achievement and they are really talented group and become like a representative to be an Olympic games such as physics, chemistry, what about the life asset they have? And what are comparing with the alternative education and basic education in the normal side, we done in 2016, we found that for the power of community get fail, especially for the talented group. That's why we also, Center for Morality also announced that we have to campaign about the volunteerism or some kind of good characteristic. And here is also talking about the substance use. If you're comparing about the 3 sentences here, living with single parents, low maternal education, low socioeconomic status. What about the odds ratio and relatively risk? Comparing about the alcohol, tobacco, and other drug, ATOD. You will see that 1 to 2 times. But comparing with the last sentence, you will see that low life asset. It will be very high, riskier 3 to 10 times about the alcohol, tobacco, and other drug. And here is last couple of years, I just announced in the Thai Parliament, comparing about 3 kind of maps. 10 years ago, more than 10 years, in 2009, and couple of years, you will see that also showing about positive power in the central region, all the Thailand become red color and the whole country become warning sign about the positive power. I'm not going in detail about this. The other point I would like to show, tangible, moral index. Morality right now, we can calculate like a GDP. So the Prime Minister might be even to be a leader of the area, that area, such as become the governor, they can also comparing about the how strength about the morality. It show about the individual characteristic, how we can do that, how we do that. The first thing, we translation morality as a good behavior. And the second thing, we also catch this kind of behavior to the national policy, such as if Thailand have their national policy announced the whole country many years ago, we catch up those kind of behavior to translation as a character or value of the people in the country in their way of life, age appropriate in their bioecosystem. And the third one is, it is a self-reflection from the whole population. I'm not talking only for the young people, I'm talking including for all the adult and senior citizens who is living in Thailand. And the rule of law for moral index, all the questionnaire beginning with I. They can self-reflection by themselves, not me, not my organization. I mean, they can self-reflection by themselves. It is the hurting their voice, the whole population of 70 million. I mean, randomized, we do like a randomized in the every provinces, the whole countries. The second rule of law, it is an area-based approach. Do not comparing about the each, such as how morality I have, what about you, your morality? No, we do not do like this, because this one is we do only for the governor and only for the prime minister to know about the whole area-based approach, and each based area approach in their way of life, that is a lot of carrier. I mean, some of people, they are working the private side, some of people, they are working the public side, some of people, they are students, some of, so I mean, the area-based approach, each the governor, the whole nation, they will know about, and comparing about the area to area. So this is the area-based approach. The third one, we have 3 age group approach. Why we have 3 age group? The first one is young people, because their ecosystem is still in the institute, university, college. But the second one is the early adult, and we be beginning to have family, and their grandpa and grandmother still alive, so they can also their way of life in morality in their own families system. So this is the second age group. And the third age group is senior citizen, like a after midlife crisis, more than 40 years old. So we have 3 age group approach and 5 scale of leveling, such as green color for excellent, good is yellow, fair is orange, like a warning sign, and poor is red, and crisis is purple. A little bit example about, in Thailand, they announced about individual characteristic for sufficiency, discipline, honesty, public mind, and gratitude. And we go in detail how, what kind of behavior explain about each kind of characteristic. And we also, all the questionnaire also beginning with I. Here is the sum of, we do the result, and right now we have moral index, such as last couple of years we announced about moral index in adult is 4.6. It can countable right now. And if you compare, if you see that we comparing about the early adult, 25 to 40 years old, you will see that discipline and responsibility become red color the whole country. And that is also, here is the for young people, and here is for the senior citizen. You will see that the sufficiency, they announce about the sufficiency, but this still in red zone. So all that, this is my last slide. I would like to show that what is the Center for Morality Promotion doing? I mean, if each of the governors know about their moral index and life asset, they can set their own provincial to be a strategy in each of the governor, in each of the province, and prime minister, they can use my moral digital like a dashboard of the whole country, and they will, I mean, the governor and also a leader, they can know about which one is the weakest one, what about the ecosystem, and they can set up and also monitoring and evaluation. We have the other point, we have also our moral incubator. I mean, 6 sectors working together like a moral assembly. This is the National Moral Assembly. We are going to help in this coming end of the August Moral Assembly, and collaboration with the change agent leveling of the change agent, and also moral academy and moral research and innovation. So right now, this is the new innovation about the, in Thailand, and World Health Organization also interesting, and I have chance to not only here, I mean 49, nearly 50 countries also connection to collaborate about how morality become a tangible and also countable like a GDP. So thank you for your attention about Barish. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Suriyade. Last but not least, as we usually say, Dr. Khuong Lee. Dr. Khuong Lee is a lecturer at the Vietnam National University, but he's also a PhD student at the National Young Ming Chao Tong University in Taiwan. And he's going to be talking about the Vietnam lack in specific substance use literacy training for secondary teachers.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Khuong Lee. I'm a PhD student in public health and also the lecturer from the Vietnam National University. And my topic is about the Vietnam lack in the Pacific substance use literacy training for secondary teacher. And this is my presentation content. The first one I want to share about the background and significance. According to the Vietnam Ministry of Labor, Environment and Social Affairs in 2018, it's around 225,000 people that are 13 years old. They come to the office to receive the mental health support. And however, the no policy for prevent the alcohol disorder patient in Vietnam, and it leads to the consequences that the children that easily to access to the alcohol in Vietnam. It's very easy because no rule sorry for that. Substance are now easier to access, and our team aims to assist the secondary teacher because we believe that the teacher in the school can provide the support for their student and also relay the help from the other services to the child to get the support. And secondly, we demonstrate the possible practical skill to support the unfortunate family and student based on the strength of the teacher in Vietnamese context. And this is our project. It's from the June 2022 until the December 2022. So we had about 6-month project for all of the program development and also the online training program. At our first stage, we focus on the content development based on we get a lot of information on also the learning material from other organizations, especially from the Colombo plan, so that we adapt into the Vietnamese context, and we also ask for the professional and also project manager who relate to the substance use in Vietnam, so that they can give us a lot of feedback, and also we use that for the adaptation version. And after that, we also provide 2 training. The first one for the public setting school, and the second one for the private setting school. And after we provide the training for 2 schools, we receive the feedback, and also we revise our program for the future teacher join with us. And our project aims to raise awareness in the secondary school teacher in monitor students' substance use and also mental well-being, and draw the attention of school and also the parent to understand more and also provide the prevention for the substance use for children and also adolescents, and develop online content. The third and the fourth arm of our project, if we focus in the 2024, because we don't have enough the support from the government, also the university, so we just focus on the first and the second one for this presentation. We create 2 groups, 2 specific roles. The first one, the content development team, we focus on developing core content with a suggestion of teacher from the needs assessment, designing the pre and post training evaluation form to assess the participant knowledge and skill. And also the other team, the administration team, we connecting with the school and organization. Luckily, with the 6-month project, we connect with 2 schools, like I say to you, the public and the private one, and developing the need assessment and also the conducting the evaluation survey. And we collect the data and we evaluating data. And this is the 3 program we learn from, and we also include in our program. The first one about ABCD, and the second one about the training family program, especially for the parent and youth in 10 and also 15. And the last one is from Vietnam. It's a Saving the Future, the project that support for the young people using drugs. And we also adapt all of information from 3 programs into the one version. And we also have the needs analysis about 70 teachers from public and private setting. And also we have the review from the experts of the Vietnam National University, and also the VSATTC is the center support for the SIV and also the substance use in Vietnam. So this is the content development team work on in the product like this. We had about 5 topics in our program. The first one about substance use in school. We talk about what is the definition of substance and stimulant and type of the common substance in Vietnam situation. And second, we talk about the science of substance use and effect on the brain. So the teacher can learn about what it can affect on the brain of the student when they got the drug use. And third, we talk about the consequences on how if they use the drug like the tobacco, alcohol, or the cannabis use. And fourth, we talk about the risk and the protective factor. And the last one, we talk about the psychological first aid and referral system in Vietnam that the teacher can get the strength from that and support for the student. So with 5 content, we deliver about 3-hour training for the teacher. And then this is the first teacher, the American International School in Vietnam. This is a private school. And we have about 150 teachers to join with us about the substance use literacy. And they learn about 5 content we say previously. And the second school is about the Center for Continuing Education, Youth Volunteer in Hóc Môn. It is the public school in Vietnam, but it group is very special because it had a lot of students that had special condition, low socioeconomic status, and they have very easy to access to the substance use in Vietnam. And so our program focused on enhance the teacher knowledge about the substance use, and also we had the method and practical skill to identify the cases and also transfer the student with the substance use problem to the mental health services. And we had about more than 50 teachers join with us on this workshop. And we say about the result in our research. The first one about the needs and assessments report. Rather than 90% of participants agree to learn more about the overview of substance use and effect, protective and risk factor, identifying symptoms and signs of the substance use, and also how to assist the family and also the student in Vietnam to connect with available mental health services. And it's very interesting that in Vietnam we have several workshops for the teacher before our workshop, but the teacher say that it's not efficiently. It's not support for them on a lot about identifying the substance use problem in the student. So our project that focus on what they need more than what the government can provide. So after we understand that, we provide training for the teacher, 3-hour training with the 5 content, and we see that we had about 4 questions about the evaluation report. The first one, the training content meets your expectation. So we have around more than 73%. They say that it's somewhat satisfactory, and 21% they have the completely satisfactory. It's very high number for all the research. We focus on the 70 teacher join in this assessment. The second, you learn anything new, and also had the same information larger than 75%. They acknowledge our training as a new knowledge. And about what were the training relevant to your needs? So about more than 70% too. They say that it's relevant to their needs, and also they can use the knowledge to the future problem of the student. It's also larger than 70%. So after the training, with 70 participants join with our evaluation form, we received the 70% of all 4 items on the list is on 70%. And along with our training, we also collaborate with ICUDDR and UNODC to provide the knowledge for the Vietnamese teacher, larger than 200 audience from across 26 provinces in Vietnam. And majority of the individuals are working either in the roles of the psychologist, doctor, substance use specialist, and also teacher. And when they join the workshop with the list of the Professor Wadi Madoluf, UNODC Vienna, and we also had the contact of a lot of teachers, and we also asked them to join our workshop in the future. And we received around 100 participants who want to join our online program in a lot of Vietnam. So some of the teachers, they are from the mountainous area. Some of the teachers, they very far from, and they just had internet, they can join with us in the online training. Yes, and Dr. Wadif say a lot of things about the role of the school in assisting students with the substance use cases. And after that, after he say about this model, a lot of principals in the school, they contact to me and they want to collaborate between the school and also our team to provide the online training about substance use literacy. Yes, and in the 45 countries, they globally working with the life skill for the student, and we don't see Vietnam in it. So we hope in the future we have the Vietnam on the list after our training program. And in the future, we will do more the online and also on-site training program for larger than 100 teachers in 5 schools in Vietnam. And also we build a platform for the asynchronous course because we know that we don't have enough the resources. So we provide asynchronous courses. It's very efficiently for the teacher, and also we can get the evaluation from them to update the course every year because we know that the substance use is globally and also is becoming changing every day. So we need to adapt the courses in the future. And thank you to our team a lot, and also we thank to the Mahidol University and also the Wesley and ICUDDR for all of the support for us on this project. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kuhn. Now, please, for questions, comments, views, the floor is yours, the audience. Please just introduce yourself, and then you can specify who you're asking the question to. Anyone in the room? So it's either clear or complicated.
Come on, we want to talk. We want to talk more. Okay, I have a question.
All right. Saved by the bell.
Thanks very much to all the presenters. I really appreciated the interventions. I have a question to Dr. Crano and Ofentse about the research in Botswana and the methodology of the diversified control group, or no, delayed intervention, let's say. How do you ensure that there is no sharing of the information? Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone is connected with digital technology. Is there actually a way of ensuring that the control group is indeed, without exposure to the intervention before the intervention period? No. Oh.
That's a very good question. First of all, these are children from different schools, so they're not in the same school. Or even in the same city. So, and think about this now from a design point of view. If they did share information, then that would lessen the difference between the intervention group and the control group. So it means it won't work. The statistic will say no difference between these two groups. So that is a factor working against our showing an effect. If we show an effect, even though that there might have been some diffusion between the two groups, it means the treatment was strong enough among kids who actually got it to overwhelm that homogenizing effect of diffusion. So that's our. I mean, we're hoping it doesn't happen, but very hard. We're hoping it doesn't happen. But if it does, I think I believe the training will be sufficient in the groups that get it to show us much more. Remember, the post-tests are going to be asking specific questions about prevention, about what you need to know and so forth. I don't think that the controls are going to get into that closely, that well. But it's a nice question. Thank you. I'll deliver this mic to the next question asker.
I'd like to have questions to Dr. Suriyade about passive power development. Oh, it was very impressive presentation because I'm doing a similar research about those things. So I wonder, did you have shared your research with the other Asian countries?
Not right now, but we are going to. Not right. I mean, not before that. Is not. It's just beginning. I mean, just last year, and we presented in the many countries. For life assets, we have collaboration many countries, but for moral index, it's a very new one. And it is a really innovation. We are going to publish our paper in the internationally, and we are happy to sharing about. Even the WHO also sent the letter to me to sharing about something about to how to build up this kind of to be some kind of common factors when we talk about the World Happiness Report. Maybe we have also some kind of moral index inside it. So happy to share about. Which country you are from? Which country you from? Oh, okay. You would like to ask one?
Actually, I didn't use the word moral index, but I used, say, positive intervention. Yeah, so the name is different. Yeah, but I think we can, the meaning is the same, but the word was different. So I think it will be very interesting to work together, especially for the younger generation. These days, addictions, people who use the drug is getting younger and younger. But the negative side, we think minus can be to be a zero. We can solve the problem, but it does not work like that, So sometimes we need to make a plus more, so it works better than a decrease minus part. So I'm very interested about working with your team.
If you look at my slide, we talk about the positive power.
Yeah, positive power.
About the morality. Some of them we saw also talking about mindfulness, or might be something about, but it is an individual characteristic, and we have evaluation about the behavior in their own way of life, and they can self-reflection.
Yeah, I found one research about positive recovery in America. Yeah, one psychiatrist, he published his paper about positive recovery. So use positive psychology at the recovery from the drug problem. So I think it's very interesting to listen your presentation to me.
10 years ago, I went in Seattle, and we also what I in my dream. If we gathering those working on the positive side,
Oh, wow, yeah.
movement the positive, like impactable. If you look at my media short movie,
Yeah.
actually this one is also posted in the Journal of Adolescent Health in the United States. This media. So if we can gather together, I mean, South Korea might be some other countries who's working the positive side, and we can hand in hand together. It is something about the impactable.
Yes, I made the paradigm like positive me and respecting you and together us. So it's very similar. Yeah.
Jump in here, because how do you translate this into prevention? How do you go from morality to substance use prevention? How do you translate that?
I mean, we have also some kind of, if you look at one of the paper talking about the NDOD, you can also, we still do need some kind of paper more, and we can also some kind of common behavior, common factor, such as what kind of the common factor and common behavior. If this is protection weakest one, it will be going to violence. If this group of behavior, it will be very weakest one. It may be some kind of teenage pregnancy or something about. Actually, we have some paper in the life asset, but for moral index, it maybe need some more research because this one is a new.
Because
Yeah.
my concern is about the typology that you're looking at. ask you very carefully and to stick because. Oh, I finished my comment. Frustration is also something very bad, right? Now, I was telling the gentleman that how do you not fall into the typology and categorizing people in terms of weak and not weak when you talk about children or youngsters, and not fall into stigmatizing more. I mean, that's my concern. From just the conceptual point of view, I'm not talking about the methods. I don't want to get into that, but just about the concept of morality index, and then how does it translate when you want to come up with some sort of intervention. How do you base your intervention on that? You see what I'm saying? How do you link that to prevention intervention? That was my question.
Yeah, because if you look at the life asset, that is also four kind of ecosystem. If you look at the weakest one, you can also implementation. And this is very confidential. Don't worry about, because all the questionnaire is also asking about the positive side. And it keep confidential, no name. I mean, they can also anonymous. And we calculation about the area approach. And we will know about if this area might be a sub-district area, which positive power is the weakest one. And how we can enroll about the strategy, focus on the community side, or focus on the positive parenting side, focus on the school system, or focus on which one. And they can also evaluation and manage what kind of monitoring year by year. So this kind of that's why I'm also mentioned about the area-based approach and keep confidential about.
I have a question for Matej, if you allow me. If you go back to the annual report of the INCB, back to 2018, that was on prevention. And then the next one, we're preparing the next one. And next one will be on the role of social media in prevention. What's your insight on that? On the use of, because social media is not only about leading people into it, but also could be used as a preventive tool, right? So how do you see that?
Very good question. This is it is increasing interest of researchers to do more research on that. So we are still at the beginning of this process. But now, there are already some indications in the literature that social media is actually becoming a super peer to our children. So probably the interventions and the approaches will go to that direction, to treat social media as a peers. So, and get some interventions similar to what we do with the peer-to-peer approach, or something similar, we will do with the social media. And there is also another issue, because children are becoming addicted to social media, and that's more focus on parental intervention. So to train parents how to keep the rules about the use of this digital technology at home. We can do this with schools as well, to ban mobile phones during the learning, during the educational process, etc. There are several interventions already there in place, which we can use them in schools, or with parents, with parenting rules, or getting parents together, like to set the same rule for the group of children, like in the classroom. Bringing parents together and say, okay, set the same rules for the whole classroom. So there will not be any excuses. Like, I'm not able to go on a Facebook, but my schoolmates are on the Facebook until midnight. But if they have the same rules for the whole classroom, there are no excuses. So everybody is off the screens at 9 o'clock in the evening. So this is probably some directions where prevention will probably go.
Don't forget about the parental role model.
course. Yeah.
Of course.
Nationalists get this.
All right. That's very interesting, but I'm afraid we will have to keep it there because it's just time. So thank you. Oh, okay. If you guys, okay, all right. We'll breach the law. Okay, go ahead. And then we have the meeting.
Well, my idea is we know from research on communication that targeted messages, that is a message that really gets to an interest that you have, are much more effective than just blowing out a message to everybody who may not, most of whom may not care at all about what you're dealing with. So targeting is really not very hard to do with social media because kids will form groups of interest. I'm interested in sports, so you got a bunch of kids interested in sports. You deliver a persuasive message to them by a sports hero and they're willing to help. I mean, important major billionaire sportsmen will come up and say, don't do this stuff. I never did it. My career would be ruined if I did. I would never reach where I was before. We've done that in my shop, in my institute, with National Basketball League NBA players. And the kids that we showed them to, at least the young boys, were knocked over. They said, oh my gosh, this guy was a long-term National Basketball Association star. He didn't have the physical attributes to be in the league. He wasn't quick enough, he wasn't tall enough, but he was always in great shape. He could run for 60 minutes, no problem whatsoever. And he told the kids this, and he said, you want to be a basketball star? And hell, half the boys in the country want to be a basketball star or a football star. You want to do that? Then listen to me. And it worked. So, I mean, we're missing, it's a huge opportunity to be able to target this group. Okay, we know who you are now. We can find you and we can zap you.
It's very interesting session. I think we can all, if we can collaborate together, like, lifespan care with a positive direction through the, social media, it can be so powerful, I think.
That's a good conclusion. Okay, well, thank you all very much and have a wonderful evening.